To the first slide. Okay, agenda here is very simple. We've spoken about how to choose your champions. We've spoken about how to filter your champions. We've spoken about how to set expectations with your community. We've also spoken about how to deep dive into the good, bad, and ugly of the kind of members that you have, and how do we ensure that we keep the correct members on the community and keep retaining them. Today, we're going to deep dive into what do we do, how do we progress when we are building a community. So, for example, how do we build, should we build the community first, or should we scale while building the community? That is one. A lot of times people assume that I'm going to bring 30 people on board and then I'm going to eventually build my community and I'll see that I can make this 30 or 100 maybe 6 months later. Or should I just keep increasing my community number month on month or week on week? So that is one thing that we're going to talk about. Once we decide on scaling, how do we manage that scale? Can we go from 20 members to 100 members within a month? Managing the scale, how do we ensure we make this worth everyone's while? While we are scaling, it is also important to remember that retention is the key to keeping your community happy and healthy. Now, in order to do that, if you're scaling, how do you ensure that you are actually keeping your community members happy? The more the people that are joining, how are you ensuring that they're all enjoying their while at your community? What do you do if someone's not happy? Whether it is a community member or a client or a brand or a product that you're working with, how do you ensure that everyone is happy with whatever it is that you're putting out for them? Partners, how do we give them the perfect experience? This is also super, super important. We have, if you're working with partners, if you're working with multiple brands, they're coming together to serve your community. How do we ensure that we are giving them the best experience through our community? And of course, how do we handle goof ups? The idea is to adapt and improvise. So we're going to be shedding light on all of these topics on today's session. We can go on to the next slide, Swati. And as always, I'm going to start with an example because that's how it's easier to understand rather than just put things out front before you. We are going to discuss the Mother Summit. I'm going to take you through how we identified what we need to do as a brand in order to actually leverage our community and make money from it while everyone is happy. And how do we make this a foolproof business where we know that everything is going in the right direction without really having to face major issues like the client not being satisfied or our payments getting stuck, etc. So I'm going to discuss the Mother Summit and tell you how we got here. We can go on to the next slide, Swati. So I started my freelance journey with influencer marketing. I came from a very heavy background in community building as well as in influencer marketing. This was during the second wave of COVID, during my pregnancy, that I took a break from full-time roles and decided I'm going to start consulting with brands. And for some reason, I decided I'm going to do influencer marketing. I did not really think of community as my prime focus area because not a lot of people understood community very well. And it was something that would have taken me a lot of time to get clients with because of the lack of know-how about communities. In the first 2 or 3 years, I worked with about 30 plus brands very easily, worked with over 2,500 influencers, got acquainted to almost all prominent brands in the spaces of women, kids, and pets. I targeted these categories because I could do very well in these categories. I knew that I already had a community in place for these, and I had worked in these categories very widely. However, this job was tedious and hopeless. Why was that? Because when I started out during COVID, brands were looking for influencer marketing because they did not have many avenues. All of them wanted to find some means of marketing because they couldn't do offline, they couldn't do, they couldn't get on the road. There was not a lot that they were able to do with marketing. People weren't going out to shop. So the idea was, let's just spread word of mouth via influencer marketing and get as many eyeballs to the brand as possible and increase online sales. So influencer marketing right now in India is a very chaotic space. We have spoken of this in our past 2 sessions as well. People are buying followers left, right, and center. So it especially happened during COVID that a lot of people sitting at home also realized that, this is easy money. Why don't I just become an influencer? I don't have to go to work. I'm sitting at home and working. So why don't I do something on the side which gets me some easy money? The easiest thing to do was to buy followers. And a lot of people then became self-proclaimed influencers. Now, content quality obviously reduced because of this. If a person does not really know how to create content, does not have the knack for it, just has bot followers, you have multiple people who don't come with any real talent, but they have that number that people, that brands are chasing. So content quality went down immensely. And what also happened as a domino effect of this is that good influencers realize that they have to create content in bulk in order to be able to sustain the competition, which is why even their content quality started to um, get compromised. They also started moving away from their core, and they started creating content just for the heck of creating content so that they could stay in the race. Every second person is a self-proclaimed influencer. You have so many people within your circle. You'll have people who are influencers now who will have at least 5 or 6,000 followers, who will talk about how they're getting invites or they're getting paid by brands for creating content. So there was a drastic shift in the way influencer marketing was. In fact, when influencer marketing started in India some 10 years ago, it was a very different scenario. There were very few people, only really good content creators would gain followers. Slowly, steadily, it just became a means of gaining easy money for some time, which led to this whole barrage of fake influencers into the influencer marketing economy. And that has impacted everything from money to content quality to authenticity of followers, everything. In fact, even Instagram's algorithm had to be changed in order to give reach to the right set of people instead of people who were getting bot followers. So that was a major market shift. Can we go on to the next slide, please, Swati? Now, what happens because of this, especially for people who work with influencer marketing? Number one is brands expect professional shoots against zero payments. They would want high quality video shots. They would want high quality imagery, high quality reels, but they don't want to pay for it because they know that influencers are everywhere and getting work from them on barter is possible. But this impossible task of getting high quality influencers who should not ideally be doing anything for free or on barter, their expectation became that we won't pay you, we won't pay the influencer, but we want very high quality content. Ideally, the kind of content which is the likes of a photo shoot or a professional photo shoot. Now, service fee is generally considered as the money that we are paying to the creator, not as money that is given to an agency for the service that they've provided, which is a very time consuming, labor intensive task, which is to scout influencers, call them, onboard them, manage logistics, ensures the product reaches them in time, then following up with them, then making sure that content comes in. If their content is not good, give them feedback, get content changed, follow up with the brand, find out what they want. Overall, it's a very long and tedious process. And there was very little money in it because brands would just assume that the money that they're paying us is influencer payment and not our service fee. So there was a limitation on budgets also that came with this. Now, brands got multiple changes made to their content because their expectation was that content has to be high quality that we can host on our website and we can use as a photo shoot on our Instagram. But that was never the purpose. The purpose was that we want marketing out of this and we want more and more people to see the brand. So due to this, they would have multiple changes made to content. They would get our influencers to shoot multiple times. They would expect influencers to go out and shoot in the market, especially during COVID. And that, just for the look and feel of things. And that obviously ruined our relationship with the influencers as well, because we were the ones constantly chasing after them, expecting them to do what was not in their deliverables in the first place at all. Brands held payments against the simplest reason. For example, the contract was very simple. We will get 6 influencers for you to create content for you in a month. They're going to do 6 reels and they're going to be doing about a couple of stories. Now, there was one brand that actually held our payment because one influencer did video stories. So it ended up being 5 stories. But that brand, which is more than 2, of course, the 2 stories that were committed, this is 5 stories in one video. And the brand came back and told us that this cannot be considered as 5 stories because this is one video in the form of 5 stories. So there were ridiculous things that we've heard for which payments have been stalled. And a lot of times we've had to pay out of our own pockets to our influencers in case we are paying them and still awaiting the payment to come in from the brand's end. Pertaining to this back and forth with brands, communities are impossible to build. Like I said in the beginning, right? You need to have a very personal, good connect with your community members in order to establish an retain a good community, a healthy and happy community. That was becoming almost impossible because we were becoming the villains who were going on, troubling the influencer, make this change, make that change. It continued that way, and people would not come back and work with us. Our influencers would just end up becoming a one time collaboration for us. Now, we use creators as content generators rather than loyalty builders and word of mouth generators. This was, like I mentioned, it became an agenda for brands to just utilize influencers to create content which could be sported on their platforms rather than for them to leverage their content within their organic following. This also led to people spreading a lot of negative word of mouth, because here the brand is not happy because their expectation is, I want high quality content which can be supported on my website and my Instagram. The influencer is not happy because they're being arm twisted to create content again and again. Nobody's happy in this ecosystem. Neither are we, because we are the ones who are constantly being crushed against these two. So that would obviously lead to a lot of negative word of mouth. So we saw our graph go from being very, very clean and very efficient in the beginning during COVID, because brands were willing to do influencer marketing, to going into a direction where we were very lost, that how do we solve this problem? Because no matter which brand we work with, their expectation is absolutely bizarre. And when this became a regular thing, and when we started facing this very regularly, we realized that this is not going to work out. Right? This is going to work out if we want to just momentarily earn money and not be satisfied with our jobs. It's not going to work out in the long run in terms of how do we make this a bustling, hustling business. This should not be something that we constantly keep doing just because it's bringing us a certain sum of money, which also isn't enough because budgets are constrained. We can go on to the next slide, Swati. Now, this is, I think it was the last one. The last one, please. Have we done this? Yeah, we've done this. Next one, sorry, my bad. Now, how did we tackle this? We said, okay, enough is enough. We can't keep doing this. We've done this for 2 months and we are struggling. We are having a very difficult time. We are not being able to maintain a community. We're not being able to retain it. It's time to go offline. It's as simple as that. And it's time to come out with a way, a process with which a brand will be interested in working with us and not have these terrible problems. We decided we are going to create concept for marketing. We are going to go offline and we are going to lead the show. Now, what that means is, one fine day, we just decided we're going to get 40 mom bloggers together to a venue somewhere in Delhi. And we're going to conceptualize a really cool event, which we are going to call the Mother Summit. We're going to curate an experience for these mothers in partnership with multiple homegrown brands. That was the idea. We called up a few brands and we said, listen, we are doing this. Why don't you bring your products? We'll do a session for you. You could also host a workshop. Our community is going to try your products firsthand. The idea is that they're going to cover the entire event and cover each session with each partner that has partnered in this. When I was starting off with this pitching, I was very apprehensive because I was thinking these brands, there are so many coming together. There'll be 4 or 5 brands that we require to curate an entire event together with. Will they be happy with sharing the space with another brand? What happened on the contrary is that they came on board not only for the influencers, but also for the cross-tagging that is going to happen with partner brands. So we brought these 40 moms together and we pitched the idea to multiple brands. The ones that converted for us are very high profile brands. Like we had Raw Pressery, we had Wingreen World, we had Wingreen Farms, we had Nua, we had Chefling. I've forgotten to mention Pilgrim here. Pilgrim also worked with us on this. What these guys did is we told them, Raw Pressery, please come on board. Let's do a mocktail making session. Curate your own mocktail menu. The bartender at the restaurant is going to help you. And I'm going to host it for you. Raw Pressery came with 100 juices. They had like a beautiful mocktail making session where these moms, these bloggers came together. They also made mocktails, had a fantastic time, enjoyed the product firsthand. Wingreens brought its flatbreads to go with the mocktails. Nua did a session on menstrual wellness. They brought a gynecologist on board who's also an influencer on Instagram. And they did a 40-minute session where we all just sat down together, busted myths to do with menstruation. Very, very interactive session. And there was a lot of talking that happened. Women actually came out and spoke about whatever they had faced growing up to do with menstrual wellness. that they are still told not to enter the temple or the kitchen when they are on their period. And everyone just spoke and spoke, and that is huge value to a brand that deals in that area of work. Chefling, which is a DIY gourmet food kit brand, it came with its DIY kits for sushi and lasagna making and took over lunch. They first did a sushi making workshop along with the chef at the venue, and then they served these women Chefling's products, sushis and lasagna. Then we had your Pilgrim basically coming over to promote its lipsticks. So they just launched a new range of lipsticks, and they came with all of those lipsticks, and all these women did is show a transition of wearing Pilgrim's lipsticks. Each brand did a 10-minute session telling the brand's story, how it came into the being, what goes behind creation of these products. And that was immense awareness. Within one day, we managed to get 40 to 45 reels, 150 stories, multiple brand taggings. And what was even better is we had Nua posting about Chefling. We had Chefling posting about Raw Pressery because a lot of cross tagging happened. So in this particular situation, we had influencer marketing because we had influencers here for this event. We had community building because people loved the event so much. There was so much happening and so much excitement in the event that all of these people decided they want to be a part of each of our events. We had a lot of brand alliance happening because these different brands who have similar TGs but are not competing brands came together and spoke about each other. So overall, going offline completely changed the story for us. We can go to the next slide, Swati. So here's why these partners came on board. There was real-time experience of their products. Unlike, I'm going to send products to an influencer by, let's say, Raw Pressery. Let's send juices, and that influencer is going to make a video. Everyone knows that Raw Pressery paid the influencer. It is not authentic. Here, people are trying the product real time, actually making content real time of experiencing it. Face-to-face interaction with their direct TG. Each brand came with representation. So Nua sent one person from their team. Chefling, the founder, came himself. Raw Pressery sent their marketing head. So every brand came with one person to represent the brand where they had real-time interaction with their TG. And that takes away that brings them a lot of feedback, that gives them a lot of data, and that gives them a lot of content for their website. Content was authentic. Nothing is fake here. Everyone knows there's an event that's happening where these guys are partnering, and they're doing a very good job of putting things together along with us. So authentic word of mouth and real feedback came from this event. Real-time sampling happened, and there was a content blast within one day. And the best thing is, we did not have any problems with content quality. A lot of times content quality suffers because people do not know how to display a product. They don't know what kind of lighting is apt. Their camera might not be great, or their background might not be great. But when you're doing an event at a beautiful restaurant, you have eliminated all of those problems. The lighting is fantastic. The imagery will look beautiful. Your product will come across really beautifully because they'll be right under the light. Overall, everything just comes out really, really pretty. So content quality became a no-brainer for us. It became an issue we don't have to solve at all, and we don't have to give guidelines to creators. The venue is going to do the job of making our content look beautiful and lively. So that happened, and that is within a day. So imagine if I'm doing an influencer collaboration with a brand where I'm bringing them 30 influencers in a month versus bringing 40 influencers within one day and do a blast of content. That obviously takes the cake, which is why our entire brand portfolio changed. We went from working with startups, new age startups who had limited budgets, to working with established companies by just making sure that the concept is ours. We were bringing forth a concept. We weren't just going and saying, okay, we'll do influencer marketing for you. Let us know if you have a plan. We were telling them, this is our plan. Do you want to participate in it? And we were creating a concept for them, which basically pushed us ahead in the whole influencer community game. We can go on to the next one, Swati. Yeah. Now, while the brands are happy and they are happy, what is it that the creators have achieved out of this? Number one, we've become a reason for them to have a great day of experiences free of cost. So if you go to an Accra or a restaurant, the Accra was the restaurant where we did this at. or if you go to a Flow in Promenade or any of these restaurants where we do these events at, it'll easily cost someone 15,000 plus taxes to just have food at a place like that. But here they were coming together with their friends, having a blast, having a fantastic weekend, bonding with other women. A great day of real experiences with great brands, all products verified and known for being excellent. They were getting a chance to interact with like-minded people. That made their day even better. So you've got 40 moms who've come together, and 40 moms are talking about problems that they all have faced. Every woman has faced, but thanks to Nua. They're making sushi and ramen. They're having a great time bonding with each other. They're applying lipstick. So that was also a great takeaway from this, because a lot of people ended up becoming friends with each other through our event. A chance to be featured on some of the best brand pages. Now, a Raw Pressery was giving a shout out to a woman with 5,000 followers because she was on that event. So that way, she was also getting an opportunity to be on a platform, on a big platform, a Chefling, a Raw Pressery, a Wingreens, a Pilgrim for that matter. These guys were reposting stories and reels of these regular influencers who weren't very big. So for them, that was major, that they were getting featured left, right, and center. Now there was an opportunity to be on an exclusive community. This is also very important because we keep filtering and we keep telling our creators on an event that, we are going to filter on each event on whom we want on our community, and we are going to keep inviting you to these events. There are multiple creators who came to the first event, which was Accra, who've been on literally every other event of ours and are coming again to the next event that we are doing. So that way, our community realized that these guys organize really fun events. It's fun. It's a great thing that we are an influencer because we get an opportunity to do these things and scope to be at more such events. Like I mentioned, that these people have attended multiple such events with us, and retention just happened on its own. Not only did community members come back to our events, brands that we worked with have also come back and said, okay, if you're doing something this weekend, please let us know. We would like to partner. So instead of us chasing people, everyone started chasing us. That's exactly how you grow. That is how it should be. You get into that auto mode where you are not doing the heavy lifting. You're getting work on your own out of good word of mouth and out of doing a great job. We can move on to the next slide, Swati. Yeah, and then there was looking no back. Unfortunately, we won't be able to open these reels because Instagram doesn't open. Does it open for you, Avneet or Swati? In case it does, if you could just check. Otherwise, we'll share this deck with all of you so that you can take a look. We couldn't download these. Yeah, thank you. So for example, this is one of the reels from an event that we did at Flow, Delhi. And if you would see, the real quality is fantastic. People are making cocktails. They're making enchiladas. Enchiladas were brought in by Chefling. The alcohol brand that came on board is Rule Unpeated. Both of these brands actually firsthand came and paid us. And if you see the look and feel of this particular product, it just looks beautiful because it's literally set up on the bar. So I just go set the display, and my creator's job is just to cover everything. Everything just ends up looking beautiful. So this was an event that we did at Flow, which is in Promenade. It's a very established bar in Promenade. It's one of the biggest breweries in Delhi. And we hosted a cocktail tasting in partnership with Chefling, where again we did a workshop for enchilada making. And there was also food from the venue. So it was practically a party. And Rule was our partner. So Rule wanted to promote its unpeated whiskey. So we did a whiskey tasting, and we also had like a cocktail making session. We can go to the next um, reel, Avneet.
Sorry,
I can
Megha,
just,
the other two are not opening.
no problem.
First will
You
open.
can just share your screen. I
I
think I just
I have those reels with me. You have shared those with me. I shall be sharing all three reels with the candidates in their WhatsApp group.
yeah, absolutely. That'll work.
Okay.
So it's just to give you all a feeler of what these events look like, what the concept is, and why people end up paying us. So you will get an idea when you look at the other reels as well on exactly what happens on these events and why it is that brands come and pay us upfront for these events and for our community. Are you sharing your screen again? Amit?
Yeah, just give me a second, please.
Yes.
The third one had started playing, so I'll just play it for you. Right here.
So this is a wine tasting that we did with Fratelli. And we did this at a restaurant called Tiamo in Gurgaon. So our creators basically were coming together. They were doing a pizza making workshop. They were drinking wine. We had a sommelier who came from Fratelli to serve these wines and also to do a proper wine and cheese um, demonstration. So this is the kind of content that started getting created, and then of course there was no looking back because brands were just very okay with coming forward and doing all of this with us. So yeah, this is just to give you an idea of what our smaller events look like with one or two partners. And then once we realize that this is getting really good traction, we are doing really well, we decided it's time to take this to the next level. Within the first two events, we realized that this is our way to go. And we decided we are going to do a really big event. So we then reached out to Karma Lakelands in Gurgaon. If you would Google Karma Lakelands, it is right between Gurgaon and Delhi. It's in Manesar. It is a very big resort. And it's got multiple restaurants, multiple a lake. It's a beautiful resort. And how I know the owners is because I had done an event with Karma Lakelands while I was working with LDB. So I called them up and I said, this is what we are doing. And we want to do something at your space because it's a fantastic space. And I think there's a lot of brand partnership I can bring to you. It took me to do a couple of meetings with the resort. I had to go to Delhi, meet them. But we managed to close Karma Lakelands and we decided that we're doing a big event. Now, for this event, we got 45 creators, but the number of people that we brought in total was 115. The total number of partners we managed to close for this was 8. Our partner brands were Natureland Organics. So if you go on Swiggy or Instamart or Blinkit, you will see Natureland Organics is one of these good popular brands that does organic rice, organic dal, flours, millets, all of these things. Very well known, pretty huge. Epigamia, I'm pretty sure anytime that you've gone to a supermarket, you've seen a lot of Epigamia, the yogurt brand. Epigamia was our second partner. Roule Peated came back because the first reel that we showed you was of Roule Unpeated Whiskey by John Distilleries. Roule Peated is its sister firm and they came back for this event. We had Wingreens and Wingreens for World and Farm both come back for this, even Raw Pressery. Of course, Karma Lakelands was our partner, venue partner, and then we were brand fueler. We were 8 partners coming together for this event to host 115 people. How did this go? Let me show you that. Can you go on to the next slide, Ami? Or Swati? Yeah. This was a massive event. You could see that there's this guy who's standing with a horse because Karma is a place that has its own animal farm. It has its own honey making, bee wax making section. It has its own ballroom where we did the layout of the food. So how this event flew, how it flows is very simple. That we started with Epigamia. We said, Epigamia, you're going to do breakfast. We're going to set your products out in the main conference room along with muesli and fruits. Our creators will come and make their own smoothie bowls. And while they eat their smoothie bowls, you're going to do a session with these creators telling them about your brand. The COO of Epigamia, Ankit Sood, he himself hosted the session. So he came to do the talking with people. After the Epigamia session, we told Karma that you do a plantation walk. So they took all of our creators for a plantation walk through the forest. Following the plantation walk, we took everyone to the ballroom, where Natureland Organics and the head chef at Karma had come together to curate a really lavish lunch menu. They'd made some fantastic products. It was an elaborate lunch menu. The food was out of the world, and I don't think anybody can forget Natureland Organics after they ate that food. Following that, we took everyone to the animal farm. We spent some time with the animals, feeding the horses and the goats. We came back and we spent some time at the pool. The pool was taken care of by Wingreens and Raw Pressery. These guys laid out their products. While people took a dip in the pool, they had Raw Pressery's juices and Wingreens snacks. Following pool time, we did a cocktail sundowner with Roule Unpeated Whiskey at the conference room, where the Karma team curated a cocktail menu. Roule was placed at the bar, and it was just an entire day of a lot of fun for all of these creators. They came with their children, they came with their families. They had a blast. And of course, it was a very, very difficult for us to pull off because to manage 115 people, despite the fact that we were 8 partners, we were doing a lot of running around, and ultimately an event is brand fueler's responsibility. So the maximum running around has to be done by brand fueler to ensure that it is executed to perfection. Plus the weather was not very much in our favor. It was a very hot day in the first half, and then it started raining like crazy during the second half. But it still was a huge event, and it got us major traction. We can go on to the next one, Amit. What did we get from this? A reach of 4 lakhs within 2 days. Within 2 days, we managed 4 lakhs. And now, when I sat down to make the report of Karma very recently, it had already achieved about a 6 to 8 lakh reach via Reels alone. We had 600 plus stories, we had 150 plus Reels, and all partner brands wanting to work with us again. So, Rule Unpeated has already signed a 3-month deal with us where we are doing 3 events per month for them. Natureland Organics is coming on board for an event that we are doing next week on at a cooking studio called Taste Sutra. We have Raw Pressery and Wingreens who've come back to 2 events after this and are coming back to another event that's happening in the month of October. So literally all partner brands have come back to work with us and have given us money for it. Epigamia is also coming back to another event which we are doing next weekend. So this is the impact that we were able to create for our partners. Our community came with their families. They enjoyed the luxuries of a 5-star property. They created content out of sheer love. They enjoyed the event so much, I didn't even have to ask anyone to create content. My team did not have to follow up with anybody. My team did not have to give anybody any guidelines. We were very clear, you just have fun and please cover the event. That's all that we require from you. That's what we want to showcase, that you're having a great time. That's exactly what they did. They created content out of sheer love for us. So where we were expecting that there are 45 creators and we'll get not more than 100 reels, we managed to get 150 reels because people were posting left, right, and center. There was so much that they did at the event that one reel would not have been enough. So they posted multiple reels. The founders at Karma Lakeland hosted us with us. So this is one very important thing that we do with our brands. Host along with us. We are all coming together and we're putting up a great show. So the founders at Karma hosted with us, and now they're doing another event with us. So overall, this was the impact that we had. This was supposed to happen in August, but now is happening in October because we are doing a winter on start with Karma Lakelands, again with another 45 creators. So this was how impactful this event was. If you do not even look at numbers, and if you only look at how our story changed from what it used to be, where we are doing back and forths with the brand, we're doing back and forths with creators, we are waiting for people to pay money, we are having to explain too many times that this is what we have managed to do for you. Please ensure that our invoices are cleared. We are paying creators. None of that nonsense was happening anymore. Everyone was just very, very happy. Money was coming in on its own. We weren't following up neither on invoices nor on content, neither with brands nor with creators. So this was how we got everything running perfectly smoothly for us. We can go to the next slide, please, Swati. So what did we scale like? How did the scale happen? In the month of June, we did one event with as few as 20 community members. And in the first week of July, we made it to 100 community members. So this is basically the process in which this was established. This growth was very quick. My plan always was that the minute my daughter turns 2 years old, I'm going to go offline. And I am going to scale quickly. Because online, the way in which we were operating before is a tedious work function, and there are hundreds, not even hundreds, I think there are thousands of influencer marketing agencies out there trying to do the same old thing and not gaining anything out of it. So I was always clear that the minute my daughter turns 2, I'm going to go and start doing things offline and take this to the next level. But it happened really, really quickly. So how did we manage this? With our first event, we solidified our standing with established brands. We did our first event, the events that I showed you, the Accra event with 40 mothers. We tried and tested things and solidified our standing with established brands. We gave our community a taste of our incentives. We treated them like family. Because we were meeting them, it was easier for us to be able to showcase what we were capable of. We became popular the minute influencers started tagging us. So if you would ever go on Brand Fueler's Instagram, you would realize that we don't create any content. Everything is created by influencers and they do collaboration reels along with us. We don't ask them to. but they do that on their own because they've had such a great experience with us. So they like that partnership so much that we have not hired a social media team anymore. We used to have a social media team in the past. We don't have one anymore because we don't require them. My social media team right now is helping me with conceptualizing events. They don't work on Instagram content at all. We hit the jackpot by taking the chance, closing out a 5-star venue and pulling off a major event. And then after that, we said, okay, fine, let's take a chance. Doesn't matter. We might be very new in this, but we should do it because we believe that we're doing a good job. We hit the jackpot with it, did a fab job with Karma Lakelands, and after that, there was no looking back at all. We can go to the next slide. And guys, anyone, any questions, please feel free to ask. Okay. Now, what is our standing right now? For our very first event, we paid the venue. The event that we did at Accra, we earned about 1,50,000 from that event via 4 brands. We charged them anything between 30 to 35K per brand. Simple math that if we have 35 to 40 creators, we'll take 35 to 40,000 per partner. We paid 35,000 to the venue because we had to book the space. However, for the second event, for the next event that we did after Accra, the venue paid us. The venue also came on board to become a partner because they realized they're getting too much promotion from this. So they ended up giving us money as well. We have a community that went from not wanting to do a single unpaid reel to doing 3 reels per event. I've already thrown some light on this. People were very reluctant in the beginning that, no, we don't do things for free. I'm not going to do anything for free. I am not going to create content for free. And they were so happy with being established, with being associated with us, that they ended up doing 3 to 4 reels a person. We have worked with 22 brands within 1 month. And this I'm talking only about the first month. By now, we've already worked with 56 brands, and we have another 18 brands in the pipeline that we are about to work with in this month. And these are all established brands. In fact, if I would look at my portfolio right now, when we started off, we were working with brands that are established but are still new. For example, Raw Press, Noah, Pilgrim. But now, in the coming month, in this month, we are working with brands like Britannia, with Nestle. We have brought Wakefield on board for an event at Taste Sutra. We've got Mars Cosmetics on board for an event that we're doing on Saturday. So our brand portfolio is just increasing constantly. We're going from popular brands to established old school popular brands, which actually have all the money. In the next quarter, we'll be amping our community 3 times. And I mean next quarter, I mean October, November, December. The idea is to amp our community 3 times and do 16 events each month, making a minimum of 2.5 lakh per event. And we are very confident that that will happen with the way in which things are flowing for us at this point. We can go on to the next slide, please, Swati. Was this easy? Absolutely not. It's in very, very bold letters. This was a mammoth task. It took us extreme caution in ensuring a community comes first. We had to be very careful with events. We had to be very clear that community is the primary goal. Making them happy is the primary goal. So even if a brand would push back and say, here, okay, fine, I'm giving you products. Can we not do giveaways? We would have to put our foot down and say, listen, our community needs to go back happy. So you have to do giveaways. And you have to ensure that those giveaways come in beautiful packaging. If our community is not impressed by you, we cannot guarantee anybody's going to post about you. Everyone else is putting a really cool front. So you make sure that you do it. So we decided that we are not going to compromise with our community. Every brand has to do its best job when they're at the event. If a wine and cheese tasting is happening with Fratelli, Fratelli has to bring a sommelier. It cannot be just done that you've got wine there and you've got cheese there. Please try and taste whatever you like. No, you have to bring an expert who will teach people which cheese with which wine, how taste buds work, why this cheese suits this wine more, what is the acidity of this, everything. Everything needs to be done in a professional manner. So we ensure at each point that our community has a blast via these events. This required us to ensure we keep all information clear and make sure we got our community to not only tag our partner brands, but also us. We had to be very clear with our community that, you know what, we're doing this, but you make sure that you tag us as well. While, of course, partner brands are paying us, but we want more and more people to know about us, and we don't want to be spending on a social media team separately. When our community can do the talking about us and market us, why do we spend on an additional team? So we had to clear with our community that please make sure wherever possible that you tag us. And even in our content, what we did is that we the invites that we send out, we make sure that we mention that this is the Fratelli wine and cheese tasting curated by Brand Fueler. So people automatically started posting a lot about us and tagging us a lot. This required us to go all out on business development and get noticed by the right set of brands. We may be doing a great job, but we are new and people will not get to know about us on their own. It is important that we go all out on BD. And how I do that is I'm spending about 3 hours every day calling new brands, which is what gets me noticed, pitching the idea to them, pitching Brand Fueler to them, pitching our community to them, and then creating a fantastic concept for them, which will interest them to work with us. So we have to go all out on BD to be able to bring the right brands. And these right brands are not coming on board only because we're calling and pitching. It is also because we go with really solid concepts. That's what makes the entire thing turn around for us. And of course, this required intense physical labor. Events are not an easy task. A lot of times I've had to pick up heavy boxes of, let's say, Chefling's products, have had to place them on display. There'll be times when you may not find help at the venue. So there's a lot of physical labor that is involved in this. When you're at an event, you're running around from one place to the other, coordinating, making sure that your guests are happy, your community is happy. So this required intense physical labor and it required me to really be fit. But that I would think is a beautiful advantage of being in this particular field of work. So yes, this was not an easy task. I remember that there were 2 months, June and July, there was not one weekend that I was at home. I was flying off to Delhi every Friday, coming back to Jaipur. I'm based out of Jaipur. So I was coming back to Jaipur every either Sunday night or Monday morning, getting back to work, again traveling on the weekend because events were happening on weekends. So this required us to be, it was a mammoth task, but it was never all of these things never really bothered me because the thrill of the chase was very, very exciting, and we were seeing so much happen, such fantastic brands come work with us, and so much money coming in that we knew that this is the way to go, and now it's time for us to just keep scaling this. We can go to the next slide, please, Swati. Overall, rule of thumb was very simple. You've got to find your tribe. You've got to find the right set of people. You have to take chances because if you don't do that, I don't know how else anybody can grow. It is important that you take your risks and stop being scared that it will end up being a failure. It has taken me 3 years to understand exactly what direction to take, despite the fact that I came with 12 years of experience in this industry. So it is important that you fall and then you make amends to the way that you're doing things and not be bothered by things that are not working out. Just constantly keep striving to achieve what you want to. And communities are built only via taking chances, unless you know how to make, because this is not something that you get a qualification in. There's no qualification in community building up until now, at least, right? So you will have to learn on the job. You have to be meticulous, very important. If you're not organized, it will be very difficult for you to manage. I've said this multiple times before, but you're dealing with a larger lot of people, or you're dealing with a larger lot of brands. It is important that you're organized and meticulous. You have to be a people person. If you're not someone with an enterprising personality or nature, this is not going to fly for you. So if you're not that, but you want to do community, you either hire somebody who can do that for you. But being a people person is very, very important when it comes to running communities. You will need people skill. It is the backbone of everything. You have to lead with clarity. Like I said, being scared or being worried that things might not work out is just going to drop your level of confidence for no reason. You'll have to lead with clarity. You'll have to understand that you have to take that chance and you've got to go ahead and take it. Do not be afraid of last minute hassles. You're not a community builder unless you can take a challenge and turn it around. And last minute hassles can be very, very vague. For example, this Karma event that I was talking about, I remember that we had closed out our brands at least 1 week in advance. But in the last minute, I traveled to Delhi a day in advance before my event so that I can make sure everything is sorted. And in case something falls flat, I can go and handle it. I remember that due to some reason, we were not being able to place Roule's alcohol at Karma. So my session would have entirely been wasted. That one session would have had to be cancelled because of some licensing issue. So I had to drive to Karma, speak to the venue, arrange for a license, solve that issue last minute, and I was very sure that we might lose out on alcohol in the last minute. Plus, this was a brand that was paying us 50K, and we hadn't claimed that money yet. So, despite of the fact that these guys were the ones who screwed this up for us, we would not have been able to make that money because they would have said that, yeah, if the session's not happening, unfortunately, we cannot pay it. It's obvious. So yeah, there are last minute hassles that happen, but part and parcel of being a community builder is that it's now work for me. It's just how work happens for me. That there is something that's going to break, and I have to make sure that I solve it at that point. So that is how you really learn quick thinking and decision making in the last minute for communities. We can move to the next slide, please. Okay, this was it, guys. Now is the time to talk. I would really like to speak. That we keep this as short as possible so that we can have some time speaking to each other and understanding this better. Please feel free to ask any questions that you guys might have. Anyone can go. How does a company differentiate between fake and real influencer? Very simple. You go to an influencer's profile, you look at their followers, the number of comments and the reach on their followers needs to be at least 7 to 10% of their total followers. Very simple. So if it's 10%, you know that it is authentic. So this way you will be able to also assess whether, and also always look at their comments. If you are looking at their comments, you will see that if there are genuine comments on their content, you will know that the influencer is authentic. If its comments are beautiful, dear, very nice, heart, that's all, then it is not an authentic influencer. How long does it take to organize an event? I work 1 month in advance for my events. This time we are working a quarter in advance. It honestly, it is very dynamic. I start with planning an event entirely differently from how it ends up being. To give you an example, I was doing on the 15th of September, we were planning on doing an event in at Mic Drop 2.0, which is a very prominent restaurant in Delhi. The event's concept was that we were bringing 30 to 35 women together, and we were just going to do beer and barbecue. But we realized that there was a sexual wellness brand, and from one of our events that we did with a menstrual wellness platform called Aza, we realized that women really like to talk about imposter syndrome and body image issues, which is why we brought a mental wellness brand and a sexual wellness brand on board. We decided we are going to make this a mental and sexual wellness event, and we'll bring a really rebellious beer brand like a Medusa on board, because the concept of Medusa is very similar to rebellious women. So the concept of the event entirely changed. However, to organize an event, if you would look at conceptualizing and then guest listing, closing out the venue, closing out partners, it takes anything between 1 to 3 weeks. So we work parallelly for multiple events. We ensure that our BD is happening for multiple events together. Our venue is sorted out, everything. It needs to be done at full speed, but 1 to 3 weeks is the time that it takes to organize one event. And you guys can speak. How do you decide the frequency of events? Right now, I'm at that phase in life where I don't decide the frequency of events by any metric. My idea is simple, that I need to utilize every weekend as much as I can. So, and as long as you're active, as long as you're, up for it, I do an event every week, but you could do literally 2 events a week as a month as well. It depends on what kind of money you're looking to earn. For us to break even, we need to make about 5 lakhs a month, because that's how much we pay to the team, plus how much I have to travel. So I decide the frequency of my events basis the money that I have to earn. I make 5 lakhs out of 2 events. Right now, we're on that place where we are scaling and we want to make more money, because we're also headed into party season. So we're doing a lot more than 2 events. We're doing 4 or 5 months, but entirely depends on how much money you want to make. Out of one event, a reasonable number to make, at least for us, is 1.5 to 2 lakhs minimum from one event.
What I meant was, how does a brand decide how many events, as in the frequency?
Exactly. Yeah. Just as, okay, as a brand, how do you decide?
Yeah.
See, as a brand, it depends on what kind of targets you have set for yourself in terms of reach. So, all of the brands that are working with us are working towards achieving a certain number every month. They have a monthly target that this is how much reach we have to come to, right? And a lot of brands also have their own events to do, which are very difficult for them to pull off on their own because they don't come with experience in events. So, they reach out to us to do these events. So, as a brand, most brands that we are working with are doing at least one event a month because that's how frequently we are doing events with them. A brand that's in food is doing an event at least once in a month. A brand to do with alcohol, because alcohol has only this means of marketing, right? It is not allowed to market alcohol otherwise. It cannot run ads or anything. So, they are doing 3 events a month with us. And if you talk about, let's say, a mental wellness brand, I think at least 2 events a quarter suffices for them. So it depends on your category. Entirely depends on your category.
And do you typically work with the brand teams when they set their budgets? Is it budgeted for the entire year? Um, my question is mostly from a point of view of how do you propose how much the brand should do with you, or is it
Technically,
them that decide? Because what happens is the brand teams do not understand this market, because you are in the game, you understand it far better. So my question is, do you have a say when they make their budgets at the beginning of the year? Do they consult you? Are you in that consulting phase as well, or
yes.
you are
So
dependent on them
with
to come and tell you what to do?
so with a bunch of brands that are partnering exclusively with us for events, we are in that phase where we set a budget aside with them. We tell them that, okay, you want to do 3 events each month. Here's what I'm going to charge you. So you will have to set this money aside month on month. For example, with John Distilleries, I'm working with 3 profiles on their roster, which is Roulé Unpeated, Roulé Peated Whiskey, and Fireball Shots. So with them, our concept is simple that we are going to be doing 3 events each month. I would otherwise charge you 40,000 per event, but now because you're doing 3 events with me each month, I'm going to charge you 32,000 per event. So this is the budget that they set aside for events specifically, and all of their events are taken care of by me. So yes, budgeting is something that we involve ourselves with in the beginning of the year when a brand wants to do events regularly.
All right.
I think there was another question somewhere on whether we pay influencers. No, we don't pay influencers. The idea is very simple: community first. If we are paying influencers, it is a very typical influencer marketing model. And there is a lot of money that we incur in up and down, closing out events. There's a lot of effort that we put in being able to pull up a great show for these influencers. So we don't pay them. And also, we realize that we have multiple macro influencers coming and working with us for free, happily enjoying our events. So we've already realized that paying influencers is not necessary anymore. How do we decide which brands can partner in for an event? It's very simple. It depends on the concept. I go with my gut. I understand when I'm at an event on what people like. An example of this would be we did an event last month at Fort City Breweries. It's a brew house in Delhi, and it's very popular. I mentioned about Fort City in my first day as well. They're building their own community. So at Fort City, when we did this event, I just decided in order to make this fun, let's get everyone to dress up like the Vikings. Because when I saw the place, I realized that its look and feel is very Nordish, like old Viking vibe. So we told all of our creators that why don't you dress up as Vikings and come. And then I decided if we are going to get them dressing as Vikings, why don't we bring a tattoo brand on board, right? So we brought this brand called Alien Tattoos on board, and those guys did a tattoo making workshop, and they also did fake tattoos on our creators to establish their Viking look. So it's about being creative. How we decide which brand we have to bring on board is completely on basis of the concept we've chosen for our creators. And how we decide on that concept is that through each event, I actually assess what it is that my creators like doing. I realized they love dressing up. So that is why we did the Vikings event. And then at the Vikings event, when I saw how much effort they put, we're doing another dressing up event on the 14th, which is where we are getting all of these ladies to dress up as some iconic Bollywood celebrity. Now, if they are dressing up as a Bollywood iconic celebrity, we are bringing a beauty brand on board. The beauty brand coming on board is Mars Cosmetics. And Mars Cosmetics loved this concept because they just launched a range of products called Cinemagic. So it's about just getting creative with concepts and pitching them to brands and letting the brand know that this is something that you may not have thought of, but we did. So why don't you come join us for this? That's how it works. And that's how we decide on which brands to bring on board.
But when we get the brands, is like, do we need to consult with them that we'll be getting these other brands and we all will be collaborating as partners? Then who are going to be their partners in that event?
Yes, yes. We keep complete clarity. So if you would look at, I'm actually going to read out how deliverables go to my brands. We've just brought Wakefield on board for a tasting cook-off that's happening next weekend. So if I read out my mail to you, what I tell them is that we are looking at 18 plus reels or carousel posts documenting all sessions, tagging Wakefield, 150 stories, 150 plus stories during the cookout, all videos and photos via our photo team. So I have my photo team also at this event. They document everything, right? So this UGC is also made available to the brand. There'll be a display set up for Wakefield at the venue. I'm going to keep a separate section where Wakefield is going to be set up. On the side, we can always have the Health Factory or Heritage Foods display as well, but Wakefield will have its allocated display. A menu curation by the founder for Wakefield and cross tagging with partner brands. This is a very important this thing aspect for all of these brands. So they want cross tagging. So if Wakefield is partnering with me and the Health Factory is also partnering with me, they don't have similar products, but they have similar TGs. Health Factory does breads. Wakefield does baking products like your baking sodas and cocoa powder and corn flour, etc. So they are not competing brands, but they are complementing brands. So they do require that cross tagging. So we keep complete clarity on that front. I've missed one question. One of you guys have asked if you could please repeat that. 1 second. I think it's on my messages. How do you become a part of such creative and fun events? Nothing. You don't have to do much. You have to just be someone who's willing to make a reel. And if you have an Instagram handle, that will be the most, that is what we require. Essentially, someone who's active on Instagram and has an active followership. That they have a bustling community. So what you require, what you need to do to become a part of the community is that you could just, how creators approach us, that they just ping us and they let us know that they want to be a part of the community. We go through their profile, and if we think that they're the right fit for us, we just call them up, take their details, and then we bring them onto the community. Okay. Any other questions? I'm assuming not. In case there are any questions, now's the time, guys. And if not, and you have any questions, you can obviously just send those across, and I'll be more than happy to answer those as well. You're most welcome. Avneet, I think we are through.
Yes, Megha, I guess if there are no more questions coming in, it's time to wrap up.
Yes.
And if in case you have any questions, ladies, you can pass on the questions to me and I'll be happy to share it with Megha.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys, for coming.
Yes. So yes, this is a wrap up for this program, and thank you very much, Megha. That was a great insight, which in past 3 days you have shared, and a lot of content, and I would say the tips that you have given will be very, very useful.
Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you, for coming over.
Thank you, Megha.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so that's all about